Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Brummel. I'm a Senior Product Specialist for Reports ForNAV, and in this video I'm going to explain you how the check report works. The agenda is simple. We're going to talk about setup first, and after explaining all of the setup options we're going to dive into technical design of the report. For this video I've prepared a payment journal, and the payment journal contains 2 payments to London Postmaster and 1 payment to ARD Property Management. If you want to create this payment, you simply go into the standard Microsoft Cronus database and you create a payment and print the checks. I'm going to use the option reprint checks so I can demo all of the combinations of options to you. Currently I have the standard Microsoft check report selected, report 1401, which prints a stub, a check and a stub. If you want to print something else, like a stub, a check and a check, you know that in an AV you have to select a different report. Let's go into the bank report selections. And let's change the check report to the ForNAV check report. In my case the check report is 70301, but this number may change depending on how you have installed our product. If I now go back to the payment journal and print the check again and select the report print check options, you see that the check looks a little bit different. We now have a logo in the top front, we have a signature, and we have the check stub stub option. If I don't want to print check stub stub, but let's say I want to print stub stub check, normally I would have to select a different report, but with Reports ForNAV it works in a slightly different way. So let's go to the ForNAV check setup. This is a table that we provide with the product, and here you can see that the default option right now is check stub stub. I can change this to stub stub check and print the report again, and hopefully you note that we haven't changed the report ID. It now prints stub stub check, and if I go to my bank report selections, you can see that it still prints report 70301 US check. So we support multiple options of printing stub stub check without you having to change the report. So let's go back to the ForNAV check setup. And let's select something else. Let's print a top check with 1 stub and go back to the payment journal and reprint the check. So you can see that this now prints a check at the top and a stub at the bottom. Let's see what other options we have in the ForNAV check setup. You can see we have the signature file name, and if I click on the signature file name it opens the file. It's a bit hard to see, but you can see that it prints Picasso at the back of the report. It shows it like this because it's a transparent image. If I delete the signature and print my check again, you'll see that it doesn't print the signature on the check anymore. In the ForNAV check setup we also have an option called watermark. In our NAV community we do a lot of demos, and a lot of demos these days are done online or using video like this one. And if you do a demo of a check report without printing it to real paper, it just looks funny, right? It prints it on blank paper. In order to do a nicer demo, we allow you to do some watermarking, and we provide you with some watermarks. And let's select this one, green 5A, and you can see that this actually prints a check, and it has white space in the bottom. So let's go back, and we still have the top check with one stub, and we'll go to the payment journal and we'll print the check again. You can now see that it actually prints London Postmaster and the amount nicely on the watermark, and you get the stub at the bottom of the check report. And it does the same for the next check. So let's change the setup again, and let's change this to stop check stub. Let's delete the watermark, and let's change the watermark to blue 5B, which prints the watermark in the middle. And let's print the check again. So now you see that it actually prints the check in the middle, and we get a stop at the front and a stop at the back. We think that this makes it very easy to demonstrate and work with the product. You don't have to change the report each time you want to change something to the layout. So let's see how this works from a technical perspective. If you've been working with an AV for a while, you are aware that Microsoft ships different reports for the different combinations. And if you want to make a change, the change is not automatically copied in one of the other reports. If we go, for example, into the stop check stop report, and we design the report, you can see that the design of the report dataset is quite overwhelming. There's a lot of fields in the report dataset, and it requires to have a very senior developer on board to make changes to this report. And if we go into the layout and we look into report builder, it actually looks very complicated to make changes to this report. It's full of expressions, and it's very hard to guess which data goes where. So let's see how we can make changes to the ForNAV check report. Making changes to the ForNAV check report doesn't require you to have Seaside installed, and it doesn't require a customer to have a development license. A customer can simply go into the check setup and select design, and from the design option you select Open Designer and preview the report. This takes you to the ForNAV designer, and you can see that it's very easy to see which field goes where. You can see that this is the pay to name, this is the amount in numbers, this is the amount written in text, and in this case the check goes to the top and the stub goes in the bottom. But this layout also works if you make the check work differently. So let's make a quick change to this layout. Let's change the address to be printed in pink, and let's make the stub to have a background color in turquoise. Turquoise always makes sense. And let's save the changes. And let's see, it currently says stop check, but let's make it a bottom check with one stub. So now we really know that the stub goes first and the bottom check goes second. We're going to delete the watermark. We don't need the watermark. And let's see what the report looks like right now. We'll select report, reprint checks again. So now you can see that the check with the pink text is printed at the bottom and the stub is printed at the top. And also if we print the stub twice, so let's go back to the setup and let's select stub, check stub again. If we reprint the check, we can see that the turquoise stub is printed twice, right? So it's very easy to change the layout without having to understand or change the report each time you want to change the layout of the check. We also got some feedback that it's difficult to position the fields each time that you implement the check for a new customer. It actually requires you to generate a payment, and after generating the payment you can generate a test print. We change that behavior if you select test print and you do preview. We always automatically generate one page with access, even if you don't have any payments in the database. And we think that this makes it a lot easier to position the fields and make sure that the fields are printed in the correct way. So let's look at the technical design and let's see how fields are moved into the check report. If we design the report again and open the designer, you can see that we have a data item here which is called model, and within the model we have a check and we have a stub header, a stub and a stub footer. This model data item you can find here in the field list. You can select any field from the model table, and here we have added every field that we think makes sense when printing checks. We even added a job number just in case you have a customer working with jobs. If you're missing a field in this list, I'm going to explain to you in a minute how you can add that field yourself. But if you think that we missed something, if you think that it makes sense to add a field and everybody else will need it as well, please don't hesitate to send us an email. I'm going to share our email address with you at the end of this video. And we would like to have the opportunity to add that field for everybody, so you don't have to merge changes every time we ship new versions of the product. Next to the model, you can of course add other fields as well. You can add the general journal line fields, or you can add the ForNAV setup fields. And if you look closely into the model table, you can see that we have the pay to vendor number field, and with that field it allows you, if you want to add a record collection to the ForNAV setup table, and you can add the vendor table, and then if you go to the model data item, you can say, okay, in my on after get record table I can simply say vendor.get, and in my vendor.get, if I drag in my model and then pay to vendor number, if I work like this, now I also have all my vendor fields that I can drag into my check, and it doesn't require you to make any changes to the ForNAV model table. So if you want to add any fields to the check that you want to grab from the vendor table, we suggest not to make changes to the model table, but just use this trick to add other fields into the table. Let's end the video by going into the design of the report. You can see that the report looks a lot less overwhelming than the standard Microsoft report because we don't have a complex data set. Of course, we loop over the general journal line table, but from the general journal line table we create the model table. The model table is a ForNAV table that we only use as a temporary table, so it only gets populated with data in memory. And if we go into the AL code, you can see that we simply do a very simple function call, create model from general journal line, and this returns the model if it is necessary to print a model. So for example, if you have multiple payments for one vendor, this function will not return a model and it will skip the model for the second payment for this vendor. But if you print a check for each single payment for each vendor, this function will return a model for each payment. That's how the design is done. If I go to the definition of this function, as you may expect, it goes eventually into a code unit, and in this code unit it does everything that you expect for printing checks. It checks if it's a valid line, otherwise it just exits, and then it creates the model from the general journal line, updates the journal, creates the check entry, etc., etc. Everything that you expect the journal to do. So thank you a lot for watching this video. We hope you enjoy working with our check report. If you have any questions about the check report, simply send an email to support@fornav.com and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to help you figure out how to move forward. Thank you.
ForNAV is here to help you with reports. We are ready to talk. Are you?